I have made a little bit more progress. I've really taken two different paths. One was to continue to test, even though the weather was not wonderful, but just test with, let's see, test with just the antenna outside instead of the whole unit, and trying to move it around outside. Let's see. I had to do what Jeff did here. This just happens to be a list of the running list of issues that I run into and keeping track of how I solved them. Ran into the same issue Jeff did around this not working and having to follow his instructions on how to fix that, because I was getting some sort of error that I wanted to check my frame, and that's the frame that I was getting for my particular issue. I had to change my display to map in order to give it a 2D nav goal. So yeah, basically I was just running some tests with my antenna in the rain. So as soon as it stops raining, I will be able to get outside and give it a 2D nav goal in real life. The other thing that I spent time on was Jeff had posted, Ubiquity had published a ROS or a new update for Noetic to their build. And so I spent time putting Noetic on another RPi and seeing if that was working, and I was able to get that running. I was just looking for the mention of that in.
It's up several pages.
Random. Yeah. So I'm not quite sure why that took me there. But anyway, so the other thing that I spent time on was getting that Noetic version of the Ubiquity build on that. And then also I put Platform IO on that, which worked perfectly, and also got my 0-tier VPN to load on that, which worked perfectly. So yeah, that Noetic Ubiquity build on RPi solved a couple problems. I did not get to the point of trying to put a lawn tractor simulator on that, because my suspicion is that won't load quite as elegantly, but that's just a suspicion. So that's where I stopped. So
well, keep in mind they plan to fix that Ubiquity image. They said, oh, we're still running Python 2, but we're going to fix that so it'll run Python 3. So once they do, it's going to break all your stuff again probably. So you can still look forward to that. That if they fix it, then your stuff's not going to work.
Well,
so your 0-tier and your Platform IO will probably stop working if they do that. So again, you're going to have to track down how to fix that and make it work right. So, but you'll find out when it comes. As long as you don't update that card, you should be okay. Just keep a copy of that. Take the original image and archive it somewhere so you can come back to that later if you need to.
I did make an image copy of that. So that is a skill that I have. So I put it on a 16 gigabyte SD card. I don't quite know how to squeeze it down to a smaller size, but I did make a image copy.
One thing, take the original, you know, when you download the binary file, before you put it on your card, just save that on your, out in a directory on your computer somewhere so you don't lose that. Because I assume you had to download a binary image that you loaded onto a flash card. Just take whatever that image was you downloaded from the internet and save that somewhere, you know, just on your computer, stick in a directory somewhere so you don't lose that.
Right. The image that I saved was after I had saved so I loaded the Ubiquity image. I put Platform IO on it. I put zero tier on it. And then I saved that image. So
that's good. That's good. But if you ever have to start over, you want to make sure they may archive it on their webpage where you can get the older versions anyway. But if not, if the only option is to load the new stuff that's going to break everything, then you may not want to do that. So I'm still thinking if you can get that original image and save it somewhere before you loaded everything. So I'm sure there's no chance you're going to blow everything away and have to start over. That never happens. But so if it does, just have an image that has the stuff on that you want. You know, get that original image that you can start over.
Yeah, that's a good idea to save the incremental or the first step.
And the other thing, the other thing that occurred to me on that was I didn't go look at their webpage to see which versions of Raspberry Pi that would run on. I assume you're running on a Pi 3. Is that what you got it on?
It's yes.
So I assume, so that proves it runs on a Pi 3 and probably run on a Pi 4 because they went to a lot of work to get it to run on a Pi 4. And I don't know how far back you can go. So is still going to be some amount of stuff that you can and cannot do. You know, it may or may not run on a 2. It definitely will not run on a 1. You know, those kind of things. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that it occurred to me and I hadn't tried to track it down.
Yeah, I had to go look at exactly which Pi I had, and it was I think it was a 3 plus B or something like that, because I forget exactly which one it was, but it was one of the 3s. Definitely not a 4, definitely not a 2. It was one of the 3s.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at.
So what are you doing for base station now? Do you still have that big plastic box with the antenna stuck on that? So can you put that out in the rain and make it work?
I do. It's a black box with my GPS in it and power and a Mophie router with an internet Wi-Fi card inside it.
Is that box fairly waterproof? So, you know, if you put it out there and it rains on it, it's not gonna get water inside of it. I'm just curious.
It's I wouldn't categorize it as waterproof because there has been water that seems to find its way into it, but I have a piece of wood that's raised up about 1 inch on the bottom, and so a little bit of water does get into the bottom of it, but it's only just a few drops, and that's it's not, the few drops that get into it has not been a problem.
You could even tilt it slightly, like one end of the box, just put like a fairly thin board under it so the thing is tilted to one end. So if it gets water, it'll just run to one corner or one end of it anyway, just as an extra bonus feature.
Yeah, I think where I drilled a hole for the GPS antenna to come out, I think what happens is I don't know, water probably drains down or something or splashes in. I never caulked that, and my suspicion is there's water draining in from that particular hole.
Okay. I assume those antennas are fairly waterproof. I don't know if it's got an IP67 or IP whatever rating on those, but I assume those, as long as you don't get, water into the cable itself, I think the antenna, I think itself should be sealed well enough. You don't have to worry about getting water into those, but that might be famous last words too.
Well, I will tell you, mine has survived 2 Pennsylvania winters. I mean, it's not as harsh as yours, but generally speaking, it's survived two winters now. Because it's it's 7 by 24, been outside.
I just assumed you'd keep it in your garage and then just take it out when you wanted to use it. I didn't realize you just leave it outside all the time.
I do.
Does it run all the time, or do you just plug it in when you need it?
I just plug it in when I need it.
You could just have it set up and have it, recording, do some long-term plots on it, but I don't know if that would do anybody any good, other than you could say, well, it wanders around this much based on, over several days or several weeks. I don't know if that would actually be all that valuable or not, because if you don't have correction data on your base station, which means it's going to wander around like any cheap GPS is going to do. So I don't know if that would really tell you anything or not.
Yeah. Now that I have the tractor antenna sitting outside, I could leave it on and log the tractor position, which should stay, I mean, basically in the same spot. And that would tell me if the tractor is moving, which it effectively shouldn't be moving. That would be an interesting plot.
Yeah.
Because neither one of them should be moving. Yeah, I might be depressed because I don't want it to move, but yeah, over a 12-hour period to see if it's moving at all.
My guess is it shouldn't be moving, but I don't know.
Yeah, well,
that's why you paid a lot of money for it, because you expect it to work.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, that's a good. It'll be easy enough to catch a ROS bag on that.
Anything else?
That's all for me.
Okay, let's see if I can make this. Let's see if I can make this work today. Share screen, select window, entire screen. Wow. Kill this one.
And if I get up and start moving, it's because my battery on my laptop is dying and I'm moving to plug it in someplace.
Okay. So this was the most recent stuff I've been doing. This is my new my new URDF file, and I put the macro extensions back in it, so I can it's easier to update things. So I took the numbers you sent me. So this is your lawn tractor, and that's you standing next to it here, Warrior.
I wish I was that thin and had that much hair.
Yeah, I think I put it up for me, but no, I don't look like that either. So, and what's interesting here, we'll go to the next picture here, this way. So this is what it looks like, and you do have much wider tires in the back than I do, and this right here. So for base link here, which is at the center of the back tires, and then out to here. My front tires are right here. So yours is about twice as big as my vehicle is. And I just stuck my sensors on here because they were already predefined. I just said include those. And so it's got the laser scanner, it's got the 2 GPS and the IMUs showing up on there. So that's what I've been doing just in the last couple of days, trying to get that to work. Let's see, what else do I have here? And then as I showed here, this is the, I can't do anything with that, can I? Anyway, on the Slack channel here is the, this is the parameters that go with it. And I cut those out and put them into an include file. So these are the values that are changeable at this point. So it's like, you know, one page of numbers. And basically these right in the middle, as I said down here, these are the values that you gave me for your wheel diameters and widths, and then your the wheel spacing, the space between your 2 front wheels, the space between your 2 back wheels, and then your wheelbase, which is the back axle to the front axle. So putting those numbers in, then it generates this information coming out of it. Clever way to make this bigger here. What's this do? Open in. I suppose I could have downloaded this. Yeah, I can zoom in like this. So anyway, so again, the base link is between the 2 back wheels where it's supposed to be, and everything is connected directly to that. And this white board in here is what's called the chassis, which isn't, there's nothing connected to it. I could just delete that out of there completely, but on mine, when it shows up, that just gives an indication of what, you know, where just a base plate that's on there. So I guess there's really not much more to say about that. So let me see, how do I, well, I figured out how to stop screen sharing. You know, I kept complaining about that. It turns out you go back to your main page and let's see, that's on here. So you go down here and it says new share. As soon as you click on that, it stops screen sharing. You know, I was looking for options to do that. So like earlier, let me try it around and see what it does. So if I click on that, and there, as soon as I clicked on it, my screen sharing, it stopped screen sharing. So now if I just say cancel, or I don't want to say, my options are block or allow. Well, I don't want to do either one of those. So maybe I just have to leave that in the way now because I can't get rid of that. There, okay, escape got rid of that window. So anyway, let me go back to screen sharing again. Your browser is preventing access to the screen. Oh, good. So I guess my only option at this point is to bail out and come back in. So I guess that didn't solve all of my problems by clicking on that button for screen sharing. So let's see if I go back and do it again. Leave meeting. Join meeting. Okay.
Just FYI, I'm going to be moving for the next 2 minutes to a place where I can replug in.
Well, here, let me see if I can pause this thing here.
No, you can keep going. I can see.
I guess I can't pause it because. Okay. Anyway, so we'll see if this works. Computer audio is recorded. Okay. There. Okay, I think I'm back again. So what I will do here is I will try screen sharing if this works. Select screen, entire screen, and say allow. Okay, I got my screen sharing up. I think I'm done with these pictures here. So if we go here, so I got 3 windows here. The one in the back is going to start up the simulator, and it also starts the Ackerman converter. That's a Python script. You feed it an Ackerman command, and then it sends the values to the simulator to move your wheels, to both turn the wheels for forward and backward motion and control the steering. And then my second window here, I think is I think that's RViz, and the one down here is actually starts up my navigation with the tab planner. So if I just start this up, and I think it has your numbers in there right now. So if I just start this up and say launch the simulation. It's also got to the point where randomly the simulator won't start. You know, so it looks like it's gonna. I think it's gonna go this time. But then occasionally I just start it and it does nothing. It just sits there looking stupid. So that's not really what I had in mind. I remember back in my last job, we had a situation where about 50% of the time we couldn't get the simulator to start. And I don't know if somebody came up with an answer for it or it's because I need to restart my computer or whatever. So anyway, here's the simulator running. And I've got that world that's just got a round wall around it. And this is the basically my it's the four-wheel vehicle with the dimensions for your wheels and spacing, and then it's got my sensors just stuck on top of it. So let me make this smaller, store it over here, and then I'll start up, what's this one? RViz, I think this is RViz. So in RViz, it looks like that, and it does the laser scanners on, you can see the walls out there, and here's the vehicle. If we zoom in, I've got all the stuff turned on so you can see the, let's see, there we go. So you can see what these are called, I think they're called arrows. If we look in the transforms, it says show arrows. If I turn those off, so those go away, and you can still see the transform markers, and you can see all the various pieces that are involved here. And I've got a constant in there for the base footprint. This should be down on the ground, and it's not because I've got smaller tires on mine. So anyway, that's just showing you that it's there. So I got all kinds of stuff to clean up in, so I need to put a variable in for that instead of half of my wheel diameter. And that way, then it would automatically put that where it's supposed to be. So let me back out a little bit here. And let's make this a little bit smaller. So my third window, it's going to start up the, no, that's not what I wanted. This will start up move base, and it's got the tab planner loaded into it. So it's up and running at this point. If I say, we just bring this over here so we can kind of see it over both places. And if I come here, then again, I can just do the 2D nav goal. And tell it to go over here. And one of the first things I notice is that I need to go adjust some parameters somewhere because it will not, it can't turn sharp enough right now the way it's set up. So it'll get over here and it'll try a long time. It'll keep going back and forth. And if you zoom in on it, you can see, oh, come on. So when it backs up, it's not moving far enough to actually correct for itself, but it did get to where it needs to go. So if we just put in another one here, and what I need to do on that, let's say drive over to this point. And again, it's going to try to back up since it's the tab planner, and I haven't figured out how to prevent it from doing that. So it's going to drive over here, and it's going to try to follow this path. This path is based on the fact it thinks it can turn at some radius, and it can't. So if you look at it, it's really not turning very sharp right now. That's for several reasons. Number one, in the tab planner parameters, there's a spot for base length, and I've got it set to 0.5 meter, and Al's vehicle is 1.2 meters. So changing that to the correct value should help. You can see right there, it's saying it wants to turn really sharp, but it can't do that. And the other thing is in the Ackerman converter or the Ackerman control program, I went in there and purposely clipped the incoming value and said, don't allow anything greater than 0.5 radians left or right, and 0.5 is like 30 degrees left or right. And I know Al's lawn tractor will turn a lot sharper than that. So I got to take that out, and then this would run better. So again, it's just simply the fact that I can now, let me make it bigger, I guess. And see, it's going to keep going back and forth and trying a lot simply because of the way the parameters set up right now. So that's something. It's getting, I think it's getting close to where it's got to be. But see, it turns the wheels and moves just a little bit forward, a little bit backward, and it just needs to be. If you could turn those wheels a lot sharper, because it's telling you what it wants you to do and expects you to do that. And I just have the parameters set to the point where it can't physically do that. So that's why it was doing that. So the other thing is, if I go to let's see, close this down. So I kill this one. That. Close that. And say Control C. Control C. I pull up the editor and go to this one. So I just switch the parameter file. It's real unhandy that it's so hard to do comments in this XML, but that's just the way it works. So I guess you just have to put up with it. There may be some more clever way to do this, but I'll comment out the Cub Cadet, and I put in my Sammy parameters. I'll save that. I think I'll start it up again, and it should be my vehicle. So there's my vehicle. It's a lot shorter, and it's narrower and shorter, and has different diameter tires. So I don't have the big wide tires on the back of mine. So in this one's tuned better than the other one was. So if I start up RViz, well, it's amazing how quickly that popped up. Let's see, how can I do that? Like that, and then start the planner. So go back to RViz. It's nice to see the gazebo actually in the background. It's whether it's actually doing anything or not. Let's see how you gotta hit this. No, this button. There we go. So we got that there. We come back to RViz, and this is what I was showing you the other day. You know, basically you say you want to go over here, and this one it turns a lot better. So you'd see the green line here is what I should turn on the goal pose. So I said go to that point, and it does. So if I pick another one down here and say go to this point, there's where it's supposed to be going. And you'll see it won't do a lot of hunting. Once it gets down here, see it says go on this path, and my thing is set right now to turn sharp enough to actually follow that path. And you can control that in the tab planner. There's several things. You got number one, you got the wheelbase, which has to match your vehicle. And there's one that says like minimum turning radius. And there's a couple of parameters that you can change, because as I say, the tab planner says, I want you to drive on that path and expect your vehicle to follow that. And see, it came down and bam, stopped without doing any correcting or anything. So that's a good sign that it can do that. So theoretically, if I play with the numbers on Al's vehicle, I should be able to get his to do that.
That is awesome.
And there's still a lot of extra parameters floating around that, you know, let's say I got to go into the Python script to not clip it so hard. And then I got to go into, you have to go into the tab planner parameters and change a few things. You got to go another place. So there's still numbers scattered all over the place. I guess as long as you have a list of all these things, it shouldn't be that big a deal to make this stuff work. Any questions on that? So basically at this point, I swap in one parameter file or the other. So let's say if Bob would go out and measure his tractor, he's got a bigger tractor, take a tape measure, get all the readings, we could punch those numbers in, and we could just drive Bob's tractor around at that point.
I know you have the physical barrier around that, but if you gave it a 2D nav goal off of the grid, would it execute it?
I think it's going to try. Let's see. I don't have a map loaded in that's correct, but the global, if I turn on the, what's that called? The local cost map.
You don't necessarily have to go outside of the red barrier, but if you just like nudged up against it, would it?
Well, let's just drive over here and get close to it and see what it does here. It may refuse to do anything once it gets there. We'll see. And for some reason, the local cost map isn't showing up. So either I'm not close enough. There it's starting to show up. So now I can see the wall. And the reason that's not showing up, because if I do a local path, local cost map, there's something you can display a box around your. Here's an interesting point. It does have a map loaded, but it's the map of your property in Texas. So it's a really huge thing. And I never even get that far to the edge. So it's not really a big deal. You know, if I could get out of this round thing, we could try running into that. So let's see if I do this. No, if I do this. So we're up close to the wall here. You can see that. So now if I say drive over here, see it's going to try to do it, but it says, oh, I can't go that way because there's a wall in the way. So it's thinking about it now. Oh, did it hit it? So if I go back to, so it's trying real hard, but there's a wall in the way. So it probably will eventually give up here, and it'll put out a message on the, if we look at this one, we should be able to see the, see it keeps saying, oh, no, if I go this way, no. There, I think I might have banged into the wall right there. So I might be getting messages here. Okay, planner, velocity command, resetting planner. So it's trying all kinds of things here to try to solve that problem. And again, I haven't played with any of the parameters, so I don't know. You know, eventually it should just give up and say, no, I can't get there. But so far it hasn't done that. So that's something else to look at someday to see. Because down there it's resetting the planner. It's see up here the goal reached. Everything worked just fine until I got to this point. And now when I told it, now it says trajectory is not feasible. It's possible oscillation, activating recovery strategy. So now it's doing all kinds of stuff trying to find some way to get there. And it just seems like it should have given up by now. And there again, there's probably parameters that say, you know, if you try so many times or only try so hard to get there. But at this point, the laser scanner can see the wall and it knows it's not supposed to go through there. So it's, even though I might be occasionally banging into the wall here. See how do I do it like this? It's probably, and the other problem is if I turn on my my footprint here, see the footprint only goes up to about here. It's not even out there. So the laser is going to bang into the wall because I haven't updated the footprint. It's actually just whatever's there when I started. Let's see, how can I do that? Like this. Right here, you can see this green rectangle, and that should come out all the way to the side of the wheels here and all the way to the back of the wheels and all the way, in my case, out in front of the laser scan. And it's not doing that. So it's not actually even, so it is going to just continually bang into the thing because it doesn't know it's not supposed to. And that's just because I was too lazy to update the footprint on it. So to answer your question, yes, it will try, and there's no way to get a path out there. So it's just going to, apparently it's going to do this forever. It keeps saying, well, I tried it. No, it says something's invalid. Time diff is invalid. So I don't know what all the stuff means, but so I guess it's not going to do anything. Is there a button to, I noticed there's on the planners, there is a topic that says kill the path or something. I don't remember what they call it, but there's no button on RViz to make it do that. And I haven't looked to see if there's a way to install a button. Maybe if I just say add, maybe I could add the button to do that. So anyway, to make it recover, I'll just say drive over here. And it says, okay, oh, okay, I'll do that instead. So it didn't completely die and it's still operational, and it is going to try to get to the position I tell it here.
Oh, I didn't realize you could give it another goal that would then supersede it.
Yeah, at any point here, we'll give it a chance to calm down here. So at this point, if I ever come in here and say, so if I say drive to this point and then say, well, it's driving over there, I can just say, well, no, instead I want you to go over there. It just replans. And it just figures all that stuff out. And that's always been there. And, you know, I think from day one, you can give it a new goal while it's moving, and it'll just abort what it's doing and try to drive to the new point. Have you played with yours to find out, can you prevent it from backing up? Or were you the one complaining about backing up? I think it was Juan. For some reason, though, his mechanical system wouldn't allow him to back up. So I think he was playing with some numbers on that. And mine seems to like to back up, you know, halfway across the, let's see, how can I do that? Because if I say go back here, I think it'll back all the way over there. Well, that's kind of odd. Yeah, see, it's still backing up. And that's amazing that it can back up and find its way to where it's going. But it's, if you're standing there watching it, you don't want it to back up into you. So I think about putting a backup beeper, like on the trucks, it was beep, 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 if it wants to back up, so you know it's doing that. So that would be another safety feature, so you're not taken by surprise when it starts backing up like that and backs halfway across the yard. So that would be good to know.
And this is all Noetic, right? You're running Noetic?
This happens to be on Noetic, and I'm not sure if you back up to something else. You do have the problems between Kinetic and Noetic about the Python. Now, the only problems I had with Python, I just generally have to change anything I've got. I just have to go in and change it from Python to Python 3 up at the top of the file. And that seems to solve it. Another one complained, it says, oh, it didn't like the print statement because between the two versions of Python, they changed the formatting of a print statement. I just commented that line out. But otherwise, I haven't had any real major problems. The other problem with trying to run it on, say, Kinetic is that Kinetic comes with Gazebo 7 and Noetic comes with the Gazebo 11. So it's just a version issue there. And in Kinetic, it would complain. It would say, oh, well, you're trying to do this. Well, somebody, you got to go look up this stuff and fix this line in your code, but it would still run. It would complain, but it would still run. So probably I could move this back to Kinetic and get it to run, but I don't know that it's worth doing that or not. And I don't know if there's enough extra features in Noetic to justify going to Noetic. It's just simply that on my main laptop, that's what was loaded on the thing.
Well, congratulations. I think what you got there is awesome.
And I still need to tweak a lot of stuff and get it so it's easier to figure out how to get this stuff to run. And I was going to publish the thing on GitHub, so then you could just say clone it to your computer and say go. But I couldn't figure out GitHub. I fought with that for a couple of days, and I don't know. I at one point I put stuff up on ROS Agriculture GitHub, and I don't remember how I did that when I went through this time. It just seemed to be fighting me at every step, and I just didn't know enough about what was going on to make it work. So eventually, if I get to the point where it's something I could release to people and expect them to actually use it, if I get all the things cleaned up and then loaded onto a GitHub, so it's out there where people can get to it, that would be, which of course then immediately people are going to sending me pull requests and complaining that things don't work. And I could do like Matt did on some of his stuff on ROS Agriculture. He archived it, so it says it's now read only. So I put it out there in archive, and then people can't keep trying to make changes to it. So that'd be a way to fix it, so people aren't constantly bothering me about it. And I guess my goal would be, if we get to the point where we can put it out there and talk to people in the lawn tractor group through how to use it. That's one thing, but I don't want people from all over the world, telling me how to fix it and how to modify it and complaining about it or whatever. So while I got this up, there anything else you want to see?
Well, you have a URDF and you have ROS Noetic, and you've launched the Ackerman. You launched an Ackerman package. I mean, is the Ackerman package the only thing that you've added on top of ROS Noetic? I mean, how many packages did you have to build on top of ROS Noetic?
Technically, I don't think I had to build any packages. You just go out and say sudo apt-get install, and then you give it the packages, and it just automatically downloads the packages. And I guess it doesn't really matter, because once you get it to that point, you should do a cat can make anyway, so it will rebuild a few of them if it wants to. But it's so there's a whole list of dependencies that have to go with this, but in general they were all there. I just wrote a couple of extra little scripts. I've got one script that will take the output of Tab Planner. Here, let's see if I can pull it up here. Is it under here? No. Under here. So if we go out and look at Tab Planner, no. look at this launch file. So a lot of this is fairly standard stuff where in order to run the navigation, you have to load up you have to load a map from somewhere. You could either do an empty map, or I just grabbed the farm map, which was on the lawn tractor stuff, or on ROS agriculture stuff, the same one that comes with the stage simulator that they put together. And I was running AMCL, and that was causing problems, and partly because I didn't have any objects for it to look at. And once I commented that out, and instead I did a static transform broadcaster to say put my map on top of my ODOM. So I either run AMCL or I do this, and I just threw out AMCL, and that this is closer to, once I start trying to use the GPS, because I have to go to down that path where you take the GPS messages and run it through those converters, and that Matt had that, what it was called, GPS to Python or something, Python, right, whatever that was called. I would have to load that up to tell me where I'm at based on the GPS. And then here's just the standard, starting up move base. And then down here, I didn't realize how easy it was to get Teb Planner to work. You just have to say base local planner, use Teb Planner. And that's all it took to switch from the normal planners to Teb Planner. And this is just basically a configuration file I copied from somebody. And then down here to do my conversions. So in the, let's see, let's look at this one. This is your car-like robot parameters in the Teb Planner. And you got minimum turning radius. Here's that wheelbase. If I change this to 1.2 meters, that would have a much better, here, I'll just change that right now. 1.219 meters to match yours. And so I have the flag, the command angle instead of rotational velocity. I have that set to true, just like you have. So it is putting out a modified command velocity. So then in here, down at the bottom, I start up this program that I wrote, the script that I wrote. It just simply subscribes to command velocity, pulls the two values out of that, the forward velocity and the steering angle, and just shoves them into an Ackerman message and republishes that. So it's not doing any calculations or translations or anything. It just changes it from one command type to another command type. That's all it's doing. So that's something extra that I wrote there. Or if you say, come up here and say, turn this, say, set this to false. Now the Teb Planner is going to publish the original command velocity, which is forward velocity and rotational velocity. And if it's publishing that, then you have to go in and run the translator that comes with the Teb Planner. And right here, it's called command, well, I called it this. It starts up whatever that program is that comes with it. So either way, I convert whatever the Teb Planner is putting out, I convert it into an Ackerman command message one way or the other. So right here, if this message or this parameter is set to false, you got to run this one. If it's set to true, you run this one, and then I can run either way. It's like switch those back and forth at will. What was there? Was there? I think I was going to say we're talking about that. Oh, I said I just changed that. And while I'm at it, let me pull up the. I might waste a lot of time doing this, but we'll find out if it's going to work. So is it under nav? No, it's under PyCar. I don't know why it's called PyCar, but that's what the guy originally called it. So I think it's under gazebo scripts, Ackerman controller. So I open this one and say, find. See if I can find it this way. I'm looking for the callback routine, Ackerman command callback. And then right here, I put in, this is where I set it to. This will basically be plus and minus, it clips it at like plus and minus 30 degrees for my vehicle. So if I just, here, I could just take that out completely. Let's see what language am I in here. So I'd say, oh, I got to check. No, I'm running tabs or not. No, I'm not running tabs in here. So it's Python. So I come down here and say 1, 2, 3. Steer. Yeah, I should be able to do this. And then we'll go run your vehicle again. those are the two things I thought of that might affect it. So let me save that. And since that's Python, that's a configuration file. So if I come back here, let me kill this. And I just realized I have to I gotta go change it to use your parameters. So come back to here and come to robot something and change this back. Cut that out and get rid of my vehicle. Cut that, paste that there. There, so it should be your vehicle with my sensors. And I tried to open up the steering and we'll see if this worked any better. So, no, I didn't save that. Hope I saved everything else. Looks like I did. Okay, so now let's start it up. And we should get your vehicle and it should drive better. So we'll see what it does. So there's your vehicle. Stash it over here. Start up RViz. And start up the navigation stuff. There's a bunch of messages old that say, "Oh, this isn't supported anymore. You should go change it." I haven't fixed any of that stuff, so I need to. That's more stuff I need to track down. So at this point, I should be able to come over here, and again, let's turn on goal pose and local cost map, and we save that so I don't have to change it next time. And was I complaining on this list or on this Zoom meeting that I couldn't get map and ODOM would not show up on my list here? Whether I complained or not.
I remember you mentioning that.
Because what happened was I said, okay, I want to change it to ODOM or to map. Right now I don't. I do have map right now. And I thought, well, but they don't show up on my list. I couldn't figure out why. It turns out I didn't realize there's a pull down box here. There's all my stuff down there. So if I set this to map now, see, it knows it's there. And it turns out map and ODOM are the same. So we'll just change it back to, if I leave it set at ODOM, that I don't have to, it'll work whether I'm running the navigation software. So I want to run it with a joystick, I just set it to ODOM and it'll still drive around and everybody will be happy. So let's go in here and say a new navigation goal. So I think it will turn sharper now than it was before. So see, there's the path it wants to go in, and see the wheels are turning much sharper. And now it's still getting cranky, and I don't know. There's more parameters that could be changed on that. So we'll just pick another spot here and say go down here. But so you can see it's turning much sharper now, and I don't know what's controlling that right now. It's apparently not putting out too big a number because it's not blowing up on me. And it's turning pretty sharp, and see it's actually following on that path it's got now. So see that is the solution to fixing the steering problem that I was having.
Neat.
And there's probably some more, as I say, there's probably some more simple things you can do to fix that. So that indeed does work. So you can figure out the size of your tractor and then change all your parameters to do this. And there's some other thoughts I had on that, but now I forgot what they were. So anyway, that's where I'm at, and I'm fairly happy with what I've got right now. All day yesterday, I just couldn't make anything work because I'd build my vehicle and say, if you come and look at it here, let's see which button, this button. And when I would build this, the center of the wheel, the transform would be offset by some amount. And when I started it, one side was too low and one side was too high. So I think it was leaning to one side. And then I got to the point where I found a different number I changed, and I put those in the middle of the wheel. it looked like they're in the middle of the wheel, or that they were both level. And I started driving, and they were still offset, so the wheels would go, as it's turning, they would thump up and down like this and do all kinds of stupid things. And I finally found a number. I just changed it from whatever I was trying to put in. I just changed it to 0, and that fixed everything. So after spending all day trying to make this stuff work, that's where I ended up.
What did you have to change to fix that?
Well, there's something down in the code. Let's see, code. This one, it was under, it's down here, it's trying to create a wheel. And down here, there's an origin somewhere. I think it was create a cylinder. This origin right there, I was trying to put in for the Y value. I was trying to put in how far the wheel is offset from the center line, and apparently it didn't want that, and that was screwing up everything. So that was the fix. It took me all day to find that, and when I finally found it, it started working. Then I could have a drivable vehicle. So
there was a non-zero value there.
Yeah, I was blatantly putting in the wheel spacing divided by 2 is the number I was putting in there, and that's apparently not what it wanted to see. So because you have things like when you're defining this stuff, you have the offsets, and then you have these other things where it says, here's your axis. It tells it which axis you want it to rotate around. And that kind of has me baffled too. And this left-right reflect, when you call this macro, it says for a left wheel, you want to either reflect that or not. So it's either 1 or a -1. So that shoves it right in there and it keeps that happy. And then here's another origin up here. And so you've got several origins, these axes of rotation that are a little bit baffling. And the biggest problem is you create a wheel, and the wheel is laying down flat on the surface, and you have to rotate it 90 degrees. That's one that says right here, you have to do the reflect and say 90 degrees. So that flips the wheel up on its side. And I was having problems with between the original stuff and this stuff as to whether they should go one direction or the other. And I kept fighting with that. And finally I got it down to the point where it seems to be working now. So the way this works is you go down here, here's your big macro down here. It says create a front wheel that's going to be the left wheel, and you tell it for left-right reflex, it's either a 1 or a -1. So if it's on the left side of the vehicle, you put in a 1, and that way it puts the wheels off to the left, and then you come down here for a right wheel, then you put in a -1, and that pushes the wheels off to the right hand side. So you got this instantiates your wheels here. So you say create a left front wheel, and then you say create a right front wheel, and create a left rear wheel and a right rear wheel. So each time you do this, you're calling this macro called front wheel, or we'll do what's called rear wheel, which is up here. So it takes these values and shoves them into here. And then you can use them in the code then, where I've got something called main link, and at the very top, I say equate that to base link. So when it creates a parent link of base link, so you can change it on the fly. And then it builds this up where it says left, right prefix, front, rear prefix, and axle carrier. So that's going to equate, once it goes through the code, that's going to equate into left, rear, axle carrier. So that's how it expands that out. So you can use this to do both the left and the right rear wheel. And then here's some more of that stuff that you got to get the origins, where it's going to take either a 1 or a -1 and multiply it by this. So it's going to take your wheel spacing in the rear divided by 2, and then either make it a positive number or a negative number, and that tells it where to put the wheels on the vehicle. And then once it gets the back wheels created, then it calls a wheel macro, or it puts the joint so it knows where it's going to put that, and it calls the wheel macro, which comes up here. And the wheel macro is used for all 4 wheels. So whether they're front wheels or back wheels or left wheels or right wheels, this one macro gets used 4 times. And you're passing in the parameters here to tell it what to do with all that stuff. So this goes through and builds the joints and the links, and it creates. So you basically have a wheel, and then you have an attachment point, and then in between there you got a rotary joint that lets the wheel turn. So this macro builds all of that for you. And then if it happens to be a front wheel, you come down here to the front wheel macro. So basically adds on your steering joint. So it's kind of slick the way it works, but it's just a pain to try to, especially if you're looking at, you go look at these, you say, what the heck are you doing there? And I was looking at the radio control car stuff and I couldn't figure out what he was doing. And he had hex hubs and he had, what was it? He had U-joints and hex hubs and some other stuff. And I had no idea what any of that stuff was. So that's why I had to go down this path. I posted a video like 4 weeks ago saying, this is the approach I would take to it and build it. So you can build up each wheel individually by hand. And when you're all done, you got that original flat file that I published. And it did indeed work. I could drive that around. And theoretically, if I'd say up here at the top, my launch file says load act-new macros.zacro, which is the one with macros and all this stuff. Or I could just change the name to act-new macro zacro, and that should run the flat file and give me a vehicle like mine, and it should still be drivable, but they're done 2 different ways. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I've learned a lot, and that's the whole point. I can't just take somebody's stuff and start poking at it, because you got to know, in order to poke at it, you got to know how this stuff works. So it's been kind of a long journey trying to figure that out. But I'm getting closer to the point where I know how it works now. So I guess that's about all I have to say. So let me try this again to get out of here. So here's RViz. I'll just kill RViz. I say, oh, I can't. I got to do it like this. Close this, and then close these.
I'm going to go back and try to find your radio control guy.
What's that?
So I'm going to go back and try to find your radio control guy that that looks crazy complicated.
I'm not sure what you're talking about here. Here, let me try this.
You said you started with the URDF from the radio control guy.
Oh, okay. We said, I think you're talking about my radio control box. So you confused me there. I'm going to try this screen share again. If I click on this, just clicking on it, it stops sharing and pops up a box saying, select the window you want to use. And maybe under that, I've got some options. Scripts, entire screen. No, apparently there's no way to do this right. So I learned my lesson. If I want this to stay running over here, I just have to leave that box up, and then if I want to share again, I could say entire screen and allow, and I could, here, let me just try that once, just to see if it works. Say share entire screen and allow, and yes, it comes back. So that's, I got to remember that. So if I just say new share, then that kills the sharing. So that's the way it works. And now I got this box in the way. If I try to kill the box, then it'll say, oh, your browser's blocking it. So just more things to figure out and learn. So since this stuff doesn't seem to work very well. And the thing with that radio control car, a guy wrote that code, years ago, like 10 years ago or something, and it's been copied thousands of times. You go look for that. It's been forked and forked and forked, and everybody plays with it. And somewhere along the line, when I was trying to run in ROS Kinetic, when I first started with this stuff, I tried to run it, it wouldn't work, and it had these cryptic error messages. I was trying to track those down. And finally, I realized if I just go to somebody that built it for a newer version, that might work. So I did that, and then it did actually work. I could pull it up and run it, and I was fairly happy with it. And then I went down this path of trying to make it, trying to make it work for my actual vehicle. And essentially, I keep saying I started from scratch. Well, I had to start from scratch to learn it, but now I'm getting back to the point where it's pretty close to the radio control car stuff at this point. I just ripped out his shock absorbers and changed a few other things, and it seems to be working now. So. And maybe if I go through and document this and draw a diagram saying here's what we got, and here's how these pieces go together, and put enough comments in the URDF file that maybe it would be to the point where somebody could figure it out.
And you think you posted him 4 weeks ago? So like,
I've posted that stuff numerous times. If you scroll back under random to there's a picture of the car with 4 blue wheels on it and a gray body or something. Probably at that point I probably said here's the code that I started with. And I don't remember what it's called. If I were to do this, entire screen, allow. Now how do I get Slack? Where is Slack? Well, let's do this. I got 2 computers. I'll go to the other computer. Come over here and say share screen. This one. And then make this bigger. And we'll go back here a ways. So some of the videos where I was, some of the Zoom meetings under chat, it probably lists the that stuff. But if I come back here, come on. Probably this one. Here's a quick view of the experiments. Let's see, I'm listing links right there. Point straight. What's under here? Nope. Well, if nothing else, I can track it down and post it to Slack. Did I mention it here? BotVac. Robotics now. Video, but it's not jumping right out at me here, so I'll track it down later and post it to. I'll put it on Slack, and then I'll when I create the description for this meeting, I'll put it in there so it'll be with the video, so people can find it.
Cool.
Oh, another thing, this just reminded me right here. The guy from Lino Robotics, Lino Robot, is going to be on Homebrew Robotics on the 27th of April. And I was told that it's actually pronounced Lino Robot, not Lino Robot. And it's something about that's where's he from? Wherever he's from, that word means something. So in the future, that's pronounced Lino Robot, not Lino Robot. That's something I got at one of the meetings that I was watching.
Good to know, because I 100% would have mispronounced it all the time.
Well, I always call it Lino Robots just because that's what everybody else. Here, how do I search here? PyCar. Is it PyCar? Oh, well, maybe it wasn't as hard as I thought it was, because this right here is the code that I'm working on. So this it's giving me pictures. Huh, no pictures. Ackerman vehicle description. Anyway, I'll put this down because this is.
That's the one.
I think it's the one. Let me look here. Source. Yeah, this should be the one here that I'm using. So let me control copy. Chat. So this is just one of the random versions of that radio control car, and it's the one that I played with, and I seem to make it work. So I can't attest for the rest of them. This is what I have. So I guess I'm Uh-oh, there's the latest message. Did you just post something?
I did not. I was just trying to open that URL.
I got a thing popping up saying new message, so I don't. So I don't see any new messages, so I don't know what it's talking about. Random Jones. I don't know. It just told me I had a new message. Maybe it's just because I haven't looked at it yet today. Oh well. Okay. That's about all I have to complain about for today. So, or show off.
Well, that's quite a lot. Yeah, that Zacro. I don't know. This one is 546 lines long. One of them is.
And that again, just one of the learning steps you have to go through to, to each time you add something onto it, there's another thing you have to learn about. The other thing I did was I just blatantly took the all the sensor code at the bottom and cut it out and put that into a separate include file. And I don't know how that should be handled either. I don't know if it needs a separate include file for each sensor or just one big block for sensors. And that's just more stuff to think of, down the line, address these different things. And I probably should add a simulated camera and add like a simulated point cloud sensor. And they just stick them on there. And then if you want to use them, you can. Otherwise, you can put them on there, they can run and publish. If you just don't use them, then you don't care. But if you need them, then you just fire up RViz and say, show me what the point cloud sensor can see. And you can see what's out in front of you. So it's got a picture of you standing next to your line tractor. You can drive around and point it at you, and you should be able to see a 3D picture of you from your point cloud sensor. And then you've got the other, just like a simulated like web camera that you could pop up as an image so you can see where you're driving around. So there's just, things like that could be put on. But I'm still in the cleanup process, trying to figure out how to organize this stuff and make it do something fun.
Cool.
And then eventually I'll have to figure out GitHub so I can put stuff out there. So we'll see how that goes too. When I get that far, maybe I'll ask somebody, says, what am I doing wrong here? What do I need to look at? But so we'll see.
Well, GIST is pretty simple. You just copy and paste what you want to share. It's not a whole library.
Well, one of my problems I had, so I found a tutorial that says you should create a repository on GitHub. So I did 2 or 3 steps there. So I've got a brand new repository out there. And then another tutorial says, oh, well, you need to go out and download the Git software to put on your computer. So I did that. And I tried to run it, and I went through several steps and came up with a cryptic error or something about, oh, I can't do that. They put out an error message that looked like it was cut off halfway through. And so I had no idea what they're complaining about. But it turns out, after some more searching, it turns out that Git wants to create a branch called main, but the software you load on your computer wants to create a branch called master. So you try to push master to main, and it complains with this cryptic message. And somebody says, oh, well, you have to rename the branch on your computer to main. And it turns out the version of Git that I had wouldn't let me do that. So I went out and got the brand new version of Git that's, like 5 years newer than whatever Ubuntu would let me get. And then once I did that, then they said, here, type in this command, and that fixed that problem. So I thought, okay, I'm all set. I got down to the point it said, I went through and added all my stuff, and I said, push to Git. And it popped up, says, what's your username? What's your password? It says, oh, well, we don't use username and password anymore. Now you have to go out and create a token or something else. And that annoyed me, and I gave up on it. Came back several days later and looked at it and decided, nah, I don't want to deal with this. It's just way too much screwing around for what I was trying to do. So that's why I just copied it out to the Google Drive instead. And so it should, theoretically, there's enough stuff there if you download that and put it on your computer under your home directory if you're running Noetic. And so basically copy it down, and so it's going to create a Catkin workspace sim new directory. So you have to go into your bash RC and say, use that workspace instead of your old one. And then you get that point. Then I think the next step would be load all the dependencies. I listed those in the README file. And then at that point, run a cat can make, and if it makes it through the cat can make, it should be ready to run. And I'm sure there's going to be things that didn't show up because of the way I loaded my stuff and the way somebody else loaded it. So we'll see if anybody tries loading that, how far they get. Otherwise, the files are there. You can look at them and dig through them and whatever. In the URDF directory, there's like 20 different URDF files that are all different versions and hacks, and so you're best off just using the one that was called acnu.zacro, I think is what it is. That's the flat file that actually works, that was intended to go with that stuff that I published. And now I've got a new one called acnu macros.zacro, and that's the stuff I'm running right now.
I'm sorry, Jeff, I didn't notice that you so this, where you posted, I can't figure out how to use GitHub, so I'm giving up on that. If I want to upload my cat can sim to here, how do I do that? That's,
and if you follow down, I say, oh, here, I found out they're being cryptic, and you got to push the new button because they don't have an upload button. So I went through and got that figured out. So if you go out on that Google Drive, there is, in fact, you had that pulled up once earlier today, and I've got a directory out there called Jeff Ackerman Sim or something. And then under that is that Catkin workspace with all my stuff in it. If you want to look at it.
so this is,
That should be everything that's to make it drive around with the flat file. So if you look under that PyCar, there will be a source under that, and then under description is where the URDF files are. And then under URDF, you'll see there's a whole bunch of crap so anything that's called EM3905, that's the original code. There's one that somewhere it's got the original file. Yeah, that one right there is the original file. Then I created one called Jeff EM3905, one called Al EM35. And then when I ran it through the program to convert it down to a flat file, then there's one called Al URDF, one called Jeff URDF. So there was quite a process, quite an evolution going through trying to get this stuff to work. So I got all the way down to the point where I could create it, make it run, and then I'm trying to work my way back up to the one I published that's called acnu zacro, that right there, acnu zacro, second one down. That's the flat file that actually works. And then I created the new one. The one above that says acnu macro zacro, well, that's my new stuff, but don't even bother looking at that because it's all hacked up. That was partway through trying to convert it.
So if I put this on a Noetic machine, I should be able to do those simulations just like you did.
I think so. It'll be my small vehicle because it doesn't have the stuff for the stuff right here doesn't have your lawn tractor stuff in it right now. It just has my little lawn tractor, my little vehicle, and it should indeed work. So you can watch it in Gazebo, you can pull it up in RViz and give it destinations that'll drive around. So like 2 or 3 meetings ago, I think it was the last meeting where I was actually driving it around. That is what this software is. So all the stuff I was doing there, that should work.
Because I have a machine.
It's not really the answer, but that I think we'll pull up and run. So
I think I have a clean Noetic machine that I built just to have a clean Noetic machine just to test.
And since I created a whole new workspace, you can put this alongside your original Catkin workspace, and then to switch back and forth. I always put up my bash RC, so as soon as I open up a terminal window, it knows to go to the correct workspace. So I just go into the bash RC, go down to the bottom and change it from Catkin WS to Catkin WS Sim, and then it'll use the new workspace. And anytime you can switch back to your other one. So that should work out.
Yeah, it would be fun to see if I could run the simulator just to see if I could do that. Cool.
So that's all I got.
Well, that's a lot. That's a ton.
Good, good. And as I say, I did prove by changing a few things here, yes, we can get the steering on yours to work reasonably well for, just my quick hacks that I've been doing here. So there's still a couple of places that can have to be changed, but it seemed to be working relatively well.
I think that's fantastic. It would be fun to get Bob's dimensions and show him, hey, we're driving your tractor.
Yeah. And then, once you get at that point, you could start putting, putting bling on it. So on yours, you could put a, let's see, where's the, come on. So you really have two options. One, you can just start putting actual, geometry type stuff on it. Oh, I'm in the wrong directory. No, I can't find it. Okay, here's this one. Yeah, I'm going to say, let's try this. Let's open this. No. Do I have to download it in order to see it? Show thread. Well, anyway, there's your vehicle. And right now, as I said, I just put this white plate. Let's see, am I sharing? Can
yes.
You see? Okay,
yes.
So I put this white plate on there. On mine, I've got like a piece of plywood across the bottom. That's what that represents. And instead of that, see on yours, you could put a big cube back here to represent your platform where your seat was bolted on. I assume your batteries inside of that. So you can just put a block to represent that, and then put another kind of block here to represent your plastic suitcase, and then take this antenna and move it up here where it belongs on top of that. And then on the front, you could either just put a block to represent your engine, or you could build it up out of multiple pieces. And the other option is you could pull up something like Blender and actually make a fancy 3D model and do a rendering of the surface. And then instead of putting, say, this chassis on here as a block, you say load a DAE file, and then you can have a fancy rendered thing to make it look like anything you want. And I don't think that adds a lot of extra processing power to display that rendered file. Whereas each time you put another block on here, it takes that much more for the processor, for the computer to render that. So there's just a couple of things to do. But this is just, I just want to get so the base unit can drive around and be usable and put sensors on. And then you can make it look any way you want that at that point. So it's
yeah, and have a little bit of a visual.
Yeah, how much time you want to put into it. So
yeah, I think that's fantastic. So it definitely is a ton to mess with. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Okay.
Have a great weekend.
Let me see, where's my